The leaks for chapter 330 might have just changed everything, as the game between the powerhouse France and the crazy strong Blue Lock players starts, and they kick it off right away with France doing the most mind-blowing thing ever. But that's far from everything. The rest I will keep a secret so as not to waste any time. Let's get right into it. Alright, so the chapter starts off with us seeing the start lineup for the game, and here we learn that Hugo is actually a center defender, and for Blue Lock's side, they are just going with the same lineup that was used against Nigeria, which is for sure a bit of a rogue play, but at the same time, I don't necessarily hate it. We then get to the commentators, and we start off with Teriasa asking Natsuki what kind of team the U20 France team is. Natsuki tells him that in a world, they are championship contenders. After all, the senior national team is the World Cup winning world champions, he continues, as he says that led by Loki, this U20 squad is called the Great Golden Generation that guarantees France's future for the next 10 years. Teriasa says that he sees that Japan is challenging such a formidable opponent already, but even then, the Blue Lock members caused a sensation and furthermore, overwhelmed Nigeria 4-0 in their opening match, and Isagi is becoming the symbol of this generation. The team currently gaining the most attention in the football world is the neo-egoist Blue Lock Japan, and that's not all. As for this match, they have their brand new all-white second kit, which looks extremely awesome. And he ends it by saying that Blue Lock Japan will clash with the world champion, and after that, we see both teams walking out. And we spot Loki, who starts to smirk over at Isagi as he tells him that it's been a long time and calls him an egoist. Isagi looks back at Loki and just tells him, "Hey," and calls him a prodigy. After that, we get to Charles, who is looking around left and right, and he then speaks up as he wonders if Shidu isn't in the starting lineup today either. Bachira, who is right by him, says that he is still sitting on the bench. Charles looks back at Bachira and tells him if that's the case, then they are going to win easily. Bachira just smirks back at him and tells him Kachin. After that, we get over to Rin, who walks past them, and he tells Charles to keep talking and calls him a contrarian, telling him to get ready to have his pride crushed. Charles then mocks him as he tells him that it's right back at him and calls him Beast-chan. After that, we spot Loki, who is jumping up and down, trying to aura farm a bit, but failing miserably. Anyway, the text says that a battle where the winner gets infinitely close to advancing to the final tournament turns that pressure into a challenge. Now it's one of the best matchups of the group stage, and with that, Blue Lock versus France is starting as France starts off with the ball, and the kickoff starts. We then spot Hugo, who is starting with the ball, and he says, "Alright," and here they go. Also, in this panel, his eyes go completely blank, and he really looks so insanely cool. But after that, Hugo says, "Oops," and we see Isagi, Bachira, and also Karasu all being in total disbelief as they spot the entire French team starting to sprint with full speed into their territory. After that, Hugo just says good, and then, without a single second to waste, he himself starts to advance upon the field. Isagi tries to stop him, but he doesn't even have time to react to Hugo, who is already behind him. After that, Rin comes by and also tries to get to Hugo. However, Hugo just takes his hand on his chest and is able to hold him off. This makes him super mad as he lets out a quick sigh. We then get back to Isagi, who says that a dribbling technique slips right between Rin and himself, saying that this is bad and telling the whole team to cover the passer. After that, we move to Hiyori, who thinks that he already knows that. However, there are too many places that he needs to protect, and he says that it's impossible. We then get back to Hugo, who says beep 3 times, and then he says focus. And with that, he sends away the ball high up on the field over to Loki, and Isagi is just left in awe as he thinks that all of this was made in one go. Hey, it's Natsu mid-editing here, and I just wanted to pause the video to ask you to subscribe if you haven't already, and while you're already down there, why not leave a like as well? However, don't you worry, as it's not over, as right then, a ton of defenders from Blue Lock come to cover Loki. Nico is the first one, but doesn't say anything to start it off, as we instead go over to Aiku, who says that this is the place right, as he asks Loki and calls him a prodigy, asking if the rest isn't just bait for his diversion. Nico then speaks up and says that he anticipated this, and Aryu then ends it off by telling Loki that he isn't getting through. After that, we get back to Loki, who actually looks happy, as he, with a somewhat sarcastic tone, says that it's a pity, and after that, he tells Charles to come on, and we then see Charles, who is right behind Loki, and he steals the ball away from him. Aiku just looks at this in total disbelief. Meanwhile, Loki calls him Mr. Contrarian. We then move over to Charles, who just smiles and laughs as he then says, "Reverse." With that, we move back to Aiku, who legitimately looks like he has just seen a ghost, as he says that they are using Loki's movements as a decoy, and then going into a diagonal run, saying that it's a pinpoint pass that seems to toy with opponents from outside their awareness. With that, Charles says, "Gremlin shot." And just then, we see a new kind of aura behind him, as he has a gremlin behind him, and it's super cool. Anyway, meanwhile, Charles is shooting the ball, and Aiku is still yapping, as he says that he surpasses their system and their thinking with the very first strike. We then move to Isagi, whose eyes are glued to this, and he says that this is a crazy, super technical combo, and he finally understands that this is the title contender, France, as we see the ball going straight into the net, and Gagamaru being unable to do anything about it. We then see Loki, who is smiling, and he says that it's a nice shot. Charles just has a huge smile on his face as he says, "Gotcha." And we then move on to Hugo, who has a dead expression as he tells them that it's destiny. And with that, the leaks are over. I'm unsure if we have a title for the next chapter or not, but if any of you know, then please leave it down below. But anyway, let's talk about this madness and what just happened. Let's start off with the starting 11. I did think that it was a bit boring to have the same one, but still it felt alright. A lot of people wanted Shidu to go in directly because of Charles, but personally, I don't like that approach, as I would much rather him getting subbed in, as it's just a lot cooler if they sub him in, so that they will have a chance to turn it around. However, for the people being subbed in, I would of course like to see Shidu in this match, but honestly, Zantetsu as well, and also Yukimiya, as they might try to somehow shut down Loki and the others with their speed. However, with that said, I have to admit that I wanted Loki and Isagi to talk a bit more before starting. I feel like they just brushed it over, and that it was almost a bit rushed, as I wanted Loki to tell Isagi that he would crush him a bit more, and Isagi telling him that he wouldn't be able to, and then France getting their first goal, as it would leave Isagi a bit more crushed, as he finally realizes that he might need to eat his own words. But is it the end of the world? No, and far from it. After that, we need to talk about Hugo, who he really is cool, but I'm kinda disappointed a bit, as it seems like he will just have the generic personality that most of the new Gen 11 players have. He will be a bit edgy and not speak too much, and when he does speak, he looks like he just wants to die. Fine, that works for a few of the players, but doing that to all of the new Gens 11 just feels a bit boring. I can't wait until we get a new Generation 11 who's like super happy and just giddy overall, as it will be such a contrast, and having someone like that, being super good, feels more impressive, as he can still be entertaining and still good. Meanwhile, these players just seems a bit more and generic. I'm of course talking about Hugo, Bunny, and Sei a bit. However, Sei is excused, as he is just super dope, but Hugo and Bunny right now just feels like the same player, as they seem really similar in personality. Now let's move over to the goal. I love that Charles got the goal, as it's so cool. Something which I always say when I talk to friends is that some people care about how a story is written, and if it's good from that point of view, but I find that just so boring, and I only like the story if it's exciting, and I couldn't care less about how well it's written. What I want to get across is that I saw a lot of people calling it bad written, with Charles getting the goal, but I just love it, as firstly, his goal was sick, and it would be so boring if Loki was the only one who could score from France, and this opens up a ton of more ways for France to score goals, which means that the Blue Lock team can't just put everything into defending Loki, and instead have to spread their players out, which we saw here. So personally, I can't tell you guys how much more I enjoyed this Charles goal, compared to if Loki would have scored. But anyway, please let me know down in the comments what you thought about today's leaks, and if you enjoyed the Charles goal or not. Anyway, if you like Blue Lock and videos like this, then I would highly suggest you subscribe to this channel, and while you are at it, leave a comment and a like, as it helps out with the algorithm a ton. And if you are curious to see another video of mine, then please watch the video that will be popping up on the screen now. Anyway, thanks for watching, and have a great day. Bye.